Hello and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. My name is Rich Tehrani. Thanks for watching us today. On our program is Celine Greffard. She is the president and co-founder of OneCall Manage. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So tell me about your company.
OneCall Manage helps companies navigate the complexity of wireless. Today, wireless is more complex than it ever has been with the iPads, the Droids, the smartphones. And OneCall Manage, we founded the company, my partner and I, by understanding the gaps in the industry. The gaps being that wireless is very labor intensive. Most of the companies out there came from wireline, retrofitting to wireless. And what we did is we specifically wrote our software from the ground up to handle wireless. And what does that mean to our customers? We can get deeper in an invoice than anybody else can in order to provide greater savings and also greater visibility. So at the end of the day, they can drive down costs, but actually maintain productivity with their users.
And you're not kidding about complexity. We've got, not only do we have all sorts of new devices, but we have new device categories from e-readers to tablets to smartphones and regular phones. But we've also got plans changing all the time where you've got unlimited plans going to metered plans and tracking overages. I mean, it must be really tough for your customers to deal with all of that.
Well, it is because, typically an employee today doesn't have one device. They've got 3 devices. And managing the costs around that, wireless is unique because it's the only it's the only business tool in an organization that the costs are dependent upon the usage.
Right.
So as there's more usage, the costs are going up.
Right.
And if that's not managed effectively, that's why companies' wireless expenses are going through the roof.
Sure. Sure, I could see that. Now, you're in a space where there are large competitors. I'm curious, how do you differentiate yourself against some of the large players?
There is a lot of options out there for wireless expense management, but what's unique to OneCall, different than the companies that are out there, is that our software, because it was written specifically for wireless, and we use a business intelligent software that is driven by the user behavior. So we trend the user behavior, and by training the user behavior, we can help our companies drive down costs, because not only do we help them up front, but by giving them visibility into it, they can predict what their budgets are going to be in the future, and also what platforms they need to go to. And that's one of the unique things that we pride ourselves in is when we come to a customer, they've been through the expense management with a number of companies, and they're almost throwing up their hands because they're not getting the ROI they're looking for. We have a quick time to implement, 2 weeks. OneCall can be up and running in 2 weeks for a company. And not only that, that we have a quick time to ROI for them as well.
Wow. So are there any roadblocks to implementations?
Actually, it's a good question. One of the biggest roadblocks that we find is disbelief. Companies can't believe that we can find them so much savings so quickly in 2 weeks and provide them these phenomenal visibility and reporting and online tools that make their job so much easier in a few weeks, and whereas it's 6 to 12 months typically in the industry standard.
Now, you've got carriers expanding into all different directions in terms of services they provide, and they're even getting into some management of devices and services and plans and things like that. How does that impact your business?
Well, a lot of carriers are getting into this. They have third-party companies that are doing it, and these companies, if you think about it, a customer doesn't have just one carrier. They use multiple carriers depending on what part of the country they're in that works better.
Sure.
And so if you're having a carrier do the optimization for you, it's kind of like having the fox watch the chicken coop, right? Because you're not going to allow one carrier to optimize another carrier's invoices.
So what you're saying is being independent gives you the real, you don't have the incentive to pick one carrier over another carrier, and let's say having relationships whereby it might be monetized, where someone steers traffic to one carrier or another, and that costs the customer. As an independent provider, you just ensure that your customers are saving the most money.
Yes, and because OneCall is carrier agnostic, we don't take any kickbacks from any carrier, so when we make recommendations for specific carriers, that's because that's exactly what needs to happen for their users. Because when we're making recommendations, we're basing it on trending the user behavior, and by doing that, we're putting them on the right plans and features in order to gain more productivity and drive down costs.
So from where you sit in the market, I mean, you're in an interesting position because you work with the carriers closely, you see all the devices, you work with companies that are dealing with, in some cases, tens of thousands of devices, if not more. What do you see as the trend in the market or some of the trends? What's happening out there?
Well, what's happening is because it's getting more complex. You know, like companies are bringing in thousands and thousands of iPads. What's happening is that unless, you know, companies really, you know, the smart company, or what we call the successful company in wireless management, what they're doing is they're not just taking away services to reduce costs. They're actually supporting how the user wants to use the device. So for an example, companies will, with texting, they'll say, okay, no texting for the organization. I want to cut costs. That's not really a smart business move, because in some cases, texting is really important for sales reps, that's the only way their customer who he can get a hold of is by texting him.
Right.
So if you're taking away that functionality for him, it loses productivity for them. So what successful companies are in wireless management is they trend the user behavior and then apply the right plans and features in order to fit how that behavior is. And then also what we do is recommend the right platforms for them to move through. So it's a combination of what companies are doing, our customers are doing, is that they're utilizing our data that we give them, which is the trending the user behavior, applying that in order to be more productive as users with these business tools, because that's what these are today. These are business tools that customers really rely on, and you can't just say, I'm going to take away this piece of it, all texting, or take away roaming because the roaming charges are going through the roof. You can't do that. And so successful companies are taking the knowledge that they get, and that's because we drive so deep into the invoice to give them that knowledge and trend it, that recommending the right plans and features, but also recommending the right platforms. And because the carriers are constantly changing, like right now, Verizon just came out with all you can eat, took away all you can eat. Well, when you're taking away all you can eat, that makes a big change and a shift what companies have to handle.
Absolutely, they have to figure out which plan to put people on and then monitor each plan, right, to make sure that they don't go over. I mean, if you have 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 people getting dinged with, let's say, $30, $40 a month overage charges, I mean, those are massive numbers.
Massive. You know, we have companies with 23,000 cell phones. You multiply that. Think about the cost of that. It's huge. And so people need the tools, the visibility, real time, to be able to understand what's going on out there, and OneCall can help them do that.
Great. Well, thanks for being on the program. This was great.
Thank you for having us.